And if you can also send me like a PowerPoint instead of a PDF, that would be great. But in the meantime, I've made you so you can share.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so I am gonna set a timer. I don't know if you guys can see my screen for 10 minutes. Sean, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I can. I can see you.
Okay, so today, building off of what Bukola has presented on, even though my focus is going to be on Chevening, how to secure funding for your master's, and the focus is going to be a bit on Chevening, it can also be applied widely. And why do I say this? Because the standard criteria for Chevening is very much, um, you can adapt it. It's adaptable to almost other scholarships, and you'll see as we go ahead in this session. So, what I'm going to be focusing on is demystifying the process and building a story that wins. Um, why this session and what we'll cover? I know and I understand that thousands of applicants apply for funding, and it's very competitive. But a lot of people have come to accept that it's quite mysterious, and probably I'm not good enough, or there is just something about it that I'm not getting. Yeah, there's something about it you're not getting, but it's much more strategic than mysterious. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it can look like it's mysterious because people are getting funding of thousands of pounds and dollars, and I am not getting it. There has to be something about it, but it is much more a strategic reason rather than it's been mysterious. So today's goal is my focus is going to be on four principles. The first one is going to be change your mindset, do the work, tell one story, own your story. Bukola has laid a good foundation on almost everything. I'm just going to be adding a little bit of kick on some of them and trying to tailor them to Chevening. Like I said, it can also be applied to almost all scholarships you're applying for. Remember, these principles again. You want to change your mindset, you need to do the work. You want to then tell one story and you want to own your story. Okay, let's quickly run through the myth. There are myths about scholarships. The first one is you need a first class. Yes, it's good to have a first class, and strong academic records, they help you. But not all successful scholars have a first class degree. So um, it's going to be a disservice to yourself if you give up just because you don't have a first class. If you do not try just because you don't have a first class. So panels, of course, they will look for evidence of leadership, especially for Chevening. They will look for impact. They will look for the potential to influence positive change. A first class degree cannot compensate for a shallow story. So if you have a first class across, let's say, uni, even from masters, and you want to go for another masters, and you believe you can build a strong application on the fact that you have a first class, it's not enough if you don't have a strong story to tell. Likewise, a second or third class degree does not automatically disqualify a strong applicant. So if you're doing a good job in whatever field, you're either in agriculture, you're in tech, you're in environment, whatever field you've chosen, and you're doing a great job and you've built experience, you've had impact over the years, you can have your third class and still get a Chevening scholarship, for example. You can get a Commonwealth scholarship, for example. So have that at the back of your mind. Remember that your transcript will be reviewed, but a good story will never be forgotten. Okay, so the second myth is if I get rejected once, I am not scholarship material. Again, many scholars were rejected before they were selected. Um, my first Chevening application was in 2019, right after law school, and I got a rejection. So quite a number of people that are in my cohort also applied a number of times. So sometimes it's just that there were they had tons of great applicants. Sometimes your application just wasn't good enough. Sometimes the timing is just off. Sometimes funding it has happened to me before that I got to an interview stage. I did the interview, was great, but the feedback I got, which wasn't a generic feedback, a very tailored feedback, was say we had a lot of great applicants and we didn't have enough funding, and because of that we won't be proceeding with you. So it could be that. And the last one, which is very interesting to me, is you need a tragic story. You actually don't need a tragic story. You don't need hardship to stand out. You don't need trauma. They're not looking for trauma. um, um, you don't want to build your story on the fact that you suffered a lot. You want to build your story on the impact you've been able to have. So other mates, I can write it in a weekend. Technically, you can write it in a weekend, but the research has to be done, and it takes weeks and months to do that. And you don't have to have done everything. We'll get into this in more details. Because this is specifically this is a bit Chevening focused, I just really want to run through this. Remember that scholarships are investments, and assessors want to know if investing in you will generate meaningful impact. So just like Bukola said, you want to read the criteria, you want to understand what the scholarship objectives are, you want to be in the position of a funder. If I have £80,000 and I want to fund someone, what are the things I would want to see in the person's application? People will come and tell you lots of stories, but you want them to have their application tailored to the things that you want. So what are the scholarship objectives? Have you checked previous scholars' profiles? You can, if you're a lawyer or if you're an engineer, engineers have gotten the scholarship in the past. Go check their profile, go check the internships they've done, start building your story and check for application requirements. I don't want to waste too much time on this. Chevening's website has its eligibility requirement, but know that there are certain things you need to have at the back of your mind. You have to be a citizen of a Chevening eligible country. You have to return home for at least 2 years. You need to have 2,800 hours of work and all of these things. I don't want to waste so much time on this. My next slide is probably going to be the most important advice that I plan to give you today, and that is why I want to spend about 8 minutes on it, and that's why I've been checking my timer. This is perhaps going to be the most important advice I can give you. Many applicants treat the 4 Chevening questions like 4 different questions. They're actually not different. I want you to have it at the back of your mind that these questions are the fun part of a book. You're writing a book and there are 4 chapters. So you want your chapters to link to one another. So for Chevening, there are 4 questions. The first one is leadership and influence, relationships and networking, studying in the UK, and then your career study plan. And the reason why I said you can apply this to other scholarships is that there is no scholarship you want to apply to that they are not interested in the impact you've had. They are not interested in the influence you've made, the people you've brought together to impact positive change. So once you get this right, I believe you can be able to build any scholarship application you're applying to. So say the story like this: a challenge sparked my interest. I took action and demonstrated leadership. I built relationships and achieved impact. Now I need further skills and knowledge. Though I've done this little bit, which you have good examples of, but then I need further skills and knowledge. And this UK, US, Australian, whatever country course, but for Chevening now, this UK course will equip me with the skills I need to do even bigger work, which is the long-term plan. So this is where I want to focus on. Leadership and influence. Remember, just like Bukola said again, leadership is not position, titles, it's impact. So it's not about being the president of the accounting department. It's not about serving or winning election and being able to, lead people. Yeah, they want to see that. What they are testing for Chevening, and I believe for almost all of the scholarship, is your ability to influence, being able to solve a problem, being even able to identify a problem as well. I should have that there. And driving underlying measurable impact. I know this has been overflogged over and over again, but you can never overflog STAR approach. Remember, they are trying to test how you've been able to solve problems. So you want to start your application by telling a story, almost like an autobiography of yourself. It could be from uni, it could be from when you were working in a small organization, remember it is not about title. So you want to start off by saying what the situation was. Was it a problem? Was it a challenge? Was it a blocker? What was it? That's the situation you want to start with. Then you want to talk about the position you were in. Remember, it could be a position or a lack of position. It could be that you did not even hold any title. And I think that is even much more interesting because you can make a change without holding a title over your head. So you worked within a team and then you were able to identify a problem. And you were able to show people that what this is the problem, and you were able, I've used 10 minutes, and you were able to bring people together to solve this problem. Okay, it doesn't have to be something massive. Be ambitious but be realistic. What did you do in that small space you found you were in, and what action did you take? So who did you influence? You gathered 2 3 people together. What did you do? Okay, and then the result, what changed? There was a problem you identified. You did 1 2 3 things, and then the change. That is the line of your story. So focus on 2 strong examples. You don't have to tell for. In fact, you can have just one example. But how did you quantify the results? How did you show that this was what the status was before, but haven't done 1 2 3 things or 1 2 things? This was eventually the change that happened. So it is also very good. It's spicy when you're able to include obstacles that you overcame while doing this, which takes us to the next story, chapter 2, relationship building and networking. Remember that now you have an interest in something. So usually people have interests. Like I have so much interest in development work, and I have a story for that. So whatever your interest is, your first chapter is what started it. That's like your chapter 1. Then your chapter 2 is what did you now do to be in that space? Because you can't say, oh yeah, I solved that problem. Now you cross leg in your sitting room. You're not attending events, you're writing articles maybe, or you're meeting with people. This part is not about connecting or being able to walk up to Tony Elumelu and get his contact details. No, nobody's interested in that. They're interested in what you've been able to use the relationship, you know, you built to do. How did you leverage this relationship? So you don't have to know the most richest and the most the men with the most affluence. You just need to know people within your space, people within the space you're interested in, how you connected with them, how you use that connection, you leveraged it, you nurtured it. Remember, it's okay to connect with people on LinkedIn, but are you commenting on their posts? Are you sending them messages? I'm not saying stalk them. I'm saying show interest and build interest. And how did you bring people that you know together to solve something? Again, star approach, quantify your results, highlight the obstacles you overcame. The third chapter now we study in the UK. So remember, you've identified something you're interested in. You solve the problem. You're doing a lot of you're doing reasonably well. You've even built for that relationship. Now you're known in the space. People, if something comes up in that field, you will most likely be the person your friends will refer people to. Do you get what I'm saying? You already have like you're being known in that space, but now you know you want to compete on the global scale. You want to be out there. You need more skills, better skills, because this part is now testing reason for making your course and uni choice. So why this school? Why this course? So I have it here, and forgive me if it is too forceful, but it's the truth. If a paragraph can be used for any other uni or course, you're very wrong. You cannot, when you write a Chevening application, if each paragraph of it, especially for studying in the UK, your chapter 3 has to be very specific. You know, following box 1 and 2, you have become increasingly convinced of a further study, and it is not just any unit. This course, they have a research center that they do this kind of work, very explicit. You know the work they do, and it is very relevant to the work I've been doing. And because of that, I want to go there. Or there is this professor that wrote this article about this thing, and this is the research I'm interested in. There is no other place that I can do this. It has to be this school. So, and also for specifically for Chevening, and I think for even other scholarships, are there priority areas they're interested in? For Chevening, for example, they're interested in climate, they're interested in economic growth and development. So how can you tailor what you do into all of these things? Economic growth and development, everything can be tailored into it. It depends on how you write your essay. So remember, you can use modules to be very specific. You can use professors, you can use papers, you can use research centers, be very specific. Please do away with world class. Almost all universities in the UK or anywhere you're going to is a world class university. So do away with that word. I particularly don't like that word. The last chapter now is be ambitious but be more smart. um Test your commitment to achieving your career plan. This is what the test is all about. Like all of these things that you've done now, are you really really committed to doing these things in the long term? They're interested in the short, medium, long term. So this is where funders like Bukola said, this is where they test what your return on investment will look like. Okay, so if we invest this amount of money on you, some of my cohorts, my if I calculate up the amount of money that was spent on me for Chevening, it's about £80,000. And people had much more than that because people's tuition were about 60 something thousand pounds. Mine was about 35,000. But then I got money monthly and all other perks. So why would I give you that kind of money if you don't show me clearly what you're gonna bring to the table? So this is where you win them again. Be logical. Use months and years. 3 to 6 months, that'll be your short term. You can say after so graduation, this is X. It doesn't have to be a lot of things. Remember, they don't expect you to be Superman. Just be very, very specific and make sure it makes sense to the things you've been doing in the past. Then within 3 years, it could be your medium term. Remember, this is illustrative. It doesn't have to go with exactly like this. And then in 5 years, this is what I'll do. Okay, so I have it here, the clear progression. So remember again, with all I have gained, the experiences, skills, I am now positioned to do this in the short term. So I can do XYZ in the medium term, all of which makes the long term even more achievable. So I can't say this enough. Be ambitious but realistic. Avoid our soft corruption and insecurity. Yes, we know, but can you really? Instead, I'll contribute to strengthening governance and accountability within so through this. I think that is more convincing. Okay. Which takes me to the second to the last bit. This is the interview where your application is tested. Some fundings. Okay, I've used up my time. I'm gonna ask for just 1 more minute. The interview is where your application is tested, and this is where you want to own your story. Remember, you've come a long way. Now, many applicants spend months on writing their essays, but some spend little time on preparing for the interview. So you want to know your application inside out, but you also want to stay current on issues in your field. So it probably will take about 2 3 months before they get back to you on what's on an invitation for an interview. A lot can even happen within those times. So you want to keep developing yourself and you want to practice speaking clearly. Okay. Nobody's a perfect speaker, but people do video calls with your friends, have your friends do mock interviews with you, know your responses, have good examples. And remember, for Chevening especially, you have people in your field that will be part of the interview panel. So if you lie or you can't speak to your examples, someone is going to be calling you out. So do not memorize your answers. If it is your story, like I said from chapter 1, it is yours. No one can tell it like you can. So do not memorize your answers. They will actually know. And the fact that you've got into an interview stage or you've got into a next stage, it means that you have something to offer. So that is when you even want to own your story more, right? And lastly, securing the scholarship is not about being perfect. It's not. It's about demonstrating potential through clear examples of what you are all about. I'm not sure I mentioned SMART. Please remember SMART for writing your personal statement as well, especially your career plan. Okay, you want to be specific, you want to be measurable, and all of those things. So, um, here they want everybody. Funders want to see that you have the potential to lead, you have the potential to influence, you have the potential to create positive change. So you need to change your mindset. You need to do your research. You need to do the work. You can write it in 2 days, but the knowledge of writing it, you don't gain it in 2 days. You gain it in months, in asking questions, in reading about people's bio, their profiles, the things they've done, knowing about your field, knowing the application criteria, the things they want, what the funders are all about, the things that is passionate to them. You bring all of those things and you put in the work. And you'll be surprised how competitive your application can become. So scholarships are not awarded to the people with the most impressive titles. They are awarded to people who can clearly tell their story of impact, purpose, and credible vision. Final note for Chevening scholars, it's now 300 words. It's no more 500 words. So every sentence should serve a purpose. Every example shouldn't be there for just being there. It has to add a value, and every word should earn its place. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you very much. That was masterfully done. I'm just going to reclaim host now, just so I can introduce. I can introduce the next speaker. I know our time is fast spent. Sorry, was someone speaking? Can we mute our mics, please? Praise Alan. Okay, fine. I've muted it. Okay, so I'm going to introduce. Thanks again, Faye, for that. I think my takeaway, like you said in the end, is scholarships are not given to people with the best profile on paper, but with people who have like the best storytelling ability. So it's all in the storytelling. I will now bring on stage Odinaka Akpambo, who will be speaking on how to make a winning PhD application. So this is the first speaker who will be speaking on DPhil or PhD application. So I'll just run quickly through Odinaka's profile. Odinaka is a DPhil candidate at the University of Oxford. His DPhil project is funded by the Faculty of Law scholarship. Prior to commencing his DPhil, Odinaka completed the BCL at the Faculty of Law with distinction. Odinaka's BCL was fully funded by the MasterCard Foundation AFO Scholarship and the Faculty of Law Regent Park Scholarship. Before Oxford, Odinaka obtained a Bachelor of Laws degree at Enugu State University of Science and Technology with first-class honors and as the salutatorian, winning multiple course prizes. Odinaka also graduated with a BL from the Nigerian Law School with a first class and with 2 prizes, including the Prince Ajibola KB San Prize in Civil Law. He's published several articles and contributed in journals. So guys, please give a warm welcome to Odinaka. Odinaka, if you're there, you have the floor, and I will present your slides shortly. Odinaka, you.
Can you see me?
I can hear you, and